Welcome on into a live edition of the Cleveland Browns Report by Chat Sports. Matthew Peterson here following the 2025 NFL Draft, combing through all of the latest on the Brownies. We're going to talk about how Shedeur Sanders fell all the way to pick 144 with a lot of NFL insiders offering some explanations from sources on the inside. Then I want to look at a couple of free agent targets for Cleveland. Now that they have put together their draft class, they could turn to free agency to fill the remaining holes. That's what she said. So shout out your city for me in the chat. Let me know where you are tuning in from. We're going to get today's show underway in a few minutes. But as always, get in the chat. Be active. Be loud. Let me know where you are tuning in from. I'll give some shout outs in a moment. We have our favorite viewer. To put classic indeed. He's him. Class clown is what Reed's calling. He's him. He's him with the $2 super chat. Matthew Peterson is a moron. Now I'm starting to wonder if Reed is he's him. Is this the ultimate like Agatha Christie twist right now? Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, and then we got another super chat from he's him, which makes me think it maybe not be Reed because he went on a date earlier this week, and that would be a bit conflicting right there, I think. So. Lots to digest right here. He's him. You're giving me a lot to work on. All right. David's tuning in from West Virginia. Kathy's in Sacramento. David, I live in Illinois, but I was born 20 minutes from Cleveland. DJ's in Ohio as well. Braden, what do we think of the new profile picture? That looks like the number 2 Colorado jersey. Who were number 2 at Colorado? I can't think of. Yeah, it is retired. Which, listen, some people are like getting like really like in their feels about defending Shedeur Sanders. I think it's okay to be a little bit lighthearted about the whole thing at times. He's got to be the first player to ever have, at least in the last 50 years, how about this, post-World War II, to have his number retired and be drafted later than the third round of the draft. That can't be a very long list of players. Which quarterback do you think is going to have a longer career with the Cleveland Browns? Is it the 5th round pick, Shedeur Sanders, or the 3rd round pick, Dillon Gabriel, as Slow But Sure sends in a $50 super chat. Thank you so much, Slow But Sure. Let's get this one on screen right now. Will you let me know who's going to be a Brown for longer? Just popping in to say, what's up, Dog Pound? What's going on, Slow But Sure? Smells like Up Dog in here. Slow But Sure, thank you so much. I love how you're just like, hey, just thought I'd hop in for a second. I got some errands to run, but I just wanted everyone to know who the MVP of today's live show was before this plane even gets off the ground. Slow But Sure, thank you so much. Hope you enjoyed the NFL Draft, our coverage of it, and, of course, and most importantly, all the Browns draft picks. Shedeur Sanders, Dillon Gabriel's in the chat right now. We've got David saying Gabriel. Braden says Shedeur. We've got North Carolina in here. Everyone better show Slow But Sure some love in the chat right now as well. Okay, I want to tell you guys what we have on tap for today. Well over 100 people tuned in at the moment, so if you have not yet liked the video, please go ahead and do so. We're going to talk about how Shedeur Sanders fell to pick 144 and some free agent targets Cleveland could be targeting after the draft. And last but certainly not least, it is your opportunity to take over the show with your questions. So get your questions in right now. Use hashtag Browns or super chat like he's him, Slow But Sure, and Miami Mac. Looks like you need smaller shirts. Keep it up, bro. Thank you, Mac. Appreciate it. Yesterday, if you guys, well, a little bit about the host here. I don't have a very extensive wardrobe slash, keen sense of fashion. That's just not really something I ever spend too much money on. So I'm pretty simplistic in that regard. So when my mom gives me polos for Christmas, I wear the shit out of those polos until I can't anymore. And I wore a maroon one for 2 years. You probably remember it now. And I put it on 2 mornings ago. I was like, I look like I'm in a dress right now. So I just switched out of that. Thank you very much, Mac. Thank you. I've got my brother's wedding coming up this weekend. And I'm looking forward to, well, yeah, that'll be fun. The wedding will be fun. But I've been losing weight for my wedding, which is at the end of May. But one of my uncles has always made jokes about my weight. So I can't wait to stick it to him. I'm sure he'll find something else to nitpick me about, though.
Well, I think it's funny when you go and you haven't seen somebody in a while.
My grandma is going to lose her mind.
Yeah, and then it's just, whoa,
Yeah.
look at you, and you're like, and they go, oh, you look great, and you're like, I didn't look great before.
I love my grandma. Everyone loves their grandma, and one of the things I love the most about her is that she. Oh, sorry about this. Is that she will compliment all of her grandsons no matter what they do. We could get away with murder, and she'll take our side. Whereas the granddaughters, every time she sees them, it's always kind of like a backhanded compliment of sorts. I don't want to say that much, not to that extreme, but like the guys can do anything. I can be fat as fuck, and she won't say anything. But if one of the granddaughters starts to put on a little bit of LB, she's like, swimsuit season's coming up soon, so she's going to lose her mind. He's him. Oh, for once, actually, a good question. And then we're going to jump into the show. In a moment. Sorry about that. I've got questions coming in from Cool Guy, from Josh, from Kathy, from Braden. I want Braden and David Brown to get a question in. So I'm going to put you two on the hot seat right now to fire your question into the chat. Joshua Miller with another $2 super chat. Or a $2 super chat. All right, we'll get these supers on screen, and then we're going to talk all about Shedeur Sanders and how he fell to round 5, as a lot of NFL insiders have offered up some reasons and some explanations after talking to people that work for the NFL, work for teams, and what came about. So there it is. He's him. 100 men versus one gorilla. Who wins? Yeah, the emojis don't come through on super chats. I think the gorilla wins, and here's why. I think people are looking at this like the humans are robots or like they are possessed. If you take 100 men and you put them in a field, wherever this setting is, home or away, when the first 5 guys get their heads ripped off, the other 95 are going to turn around and run away. And even if you create a circumstance where it's like fight to the death, you can't just ignore fear. Sure, if you are finding humans who don't have fear and they don't mind, just like cannon fodder of let's send like 25 guys to overwhelm him, then yeah, the 100 guys could take down the gorilla. But you won't find 25 to volunteer for that first rush, that first wave. And when the first few run up and get killed instantly, everyone's going to turn around and run. Who would go, oh, I can't wait for my turn to come after that. So I'm taking the gorilla. We got another super chat or two. David, you got to throw a hashtag in there. Hashtag Browns. He's him. Thank you for your super. Joshua Miller, is our franchise quarterback currently on the roster? No. I think in 3 years, the Browns' week 1 starter is someone not on this roster. I don't think it's Dylan Gabriel. I don't think it's Shedeur Sanders. I know people get really upset if you say anything negative about Shedeur. It was a very good value pick for round 5. I still don't think, like I said for the last 3 months, he's going to be a long-term NFL starter. It's not Pickett, and Flacco will have his AARP in 3 years, so it definitely won't be him. I think it's going to be someone out of next year's draft or the following draft. Josh, thank you so much for your super chat. Matt or Reed, have you ever been in a fight? Last time I was in I've been a part of like bar pushing when I'm like defending someone, you know what I mean? But I've never been an instigator, and I've never been the primary recipient of a true fight. Reed, does that sound accurate for you? Or
yeah. So I never like physically like been in a fight where I'm throwing punches and another person's throwing punches at me.
I'll end up with this. I've never been in a fight that if you recorded it, it would have been interesting.
Correct.
Yeah.
I worked when I was at college. I worked at a bar for 2 years, and
a lot of breaking up fights.
A lot of breaking up fights. I saved someone from getting knocked out. Mm-hmm. But I haven't physically like been the one throwing punches.
All right, let's get to our first segment. Oh, we have a few more super chats. Sorry. So after these 2 super chats, we're going to dive into our first of 3 segments. Josh, would we have taken a second RB if we picked Genty? No. Genty can do it all for you. That running back would just have no value. They would just sit on the bench and get cold. You would, invest your resources elsewhere.
This is a good point.
From who?
Flight of the Zombie said 1 gorilla versus 100 Florida men. I might take the Florida men.
Josh, thank you for your super chat. And we'll re-hit all these super chats during our mailbag as well. He's him. Are we supposed to pee in toilet water or bowl? Bowl. You go right for the water, Reed? You create a splash? You like a water park? I like to be a silent assassin.
I do too. Depends on the toilet. If there's not enough room to get to the back with possibility of going on the seat, then I'll go in the water. But I try to hit the back of it.
Okay. Now we got the hard-hitting questions out of the way. Let's talk about the Browns drafting Shedeur Sanders. As, like I said earlier, a bunch of NFL insiders kind of chimed in as to how this came about. So I want to share that with you all because I found it quite interesting and very insightful and, just perfectly honest, very educational and informative. So I want you guys to have that same knowledge coming out of this video. 37 likes. Can we get to 40 likes? Can we get 3 more people to like the video, and then we're going to jump into that first segment? I need 3 more likes. 152 people tuned in at the moment. I know 3 of you have not liked the video. We're 2 likes away. 2 likes away. Let's get there. Come on. We're going to sit in silence. I feel like a kindergarten teacher. 45 likes. All right. Reed, are you ready to rumble? Okay. Am I ready? I think I'm ready. I kind of want to see how we begin the show. I script the shows, and then I forget my own script. That's right. All right. I'm just going to put it over here, and then I'm ready. All right. Here we go. On today's episode, I want to talk about some of the new details and reports that have emerged following the NFL draft as to how in the world did Shedeur Sanders fall to round 5 and what was the cause of that. Now, before we look at that, help us reach 45,000 subscribers. We are less than 70 away. 65 of you watching that haven't subbed, help me out and click that subscribe button to reach a pretty sizable milestone of 45K. So we've got 2 draft stories. The big hitting item is Shedeur Sanders and how did he fall to round number 5. A lot of NFL insiders have spoken to people that worked with the work in the NFL, work with teams, and have gotten some good insight as to what happened and how this all came to be. So let's start with an article from The Athletic's Diana Rossini, who talked to an NFL exec that said, I believe Shedeur approached these visits with teams as a recruiting trip versus a job interview. The rumor on the street is that the Giants had Shedeur Sanders number 1 on their draft board for a long time at quarterback. Joe Shane practically lived in Boulder, Colorado. And then, as we got closer to the draft, maybe Shedeur started to get cocky, I guess. Todd McShay, who does not bat 1,000, but he's very in the know when it comes to the NFL draft, with the Ringer said Shedeur didn't have a great interview with Brian Daboll in a private visit. An install package came in. Preparation wasn't there for it. Got called out on it. Didn't like that. Brian didn't appreciate him not liking it. This is kind of like the Bo Callahan story of you put $100 at the back of the playbook and they read all the way to the end here, and then they have the balls to lie about it. So Brian Daboll having an issue with Shedeur Sanders, and I think that type of stuff can really start to snowball when teams to begin with don't view you as a round 1 quarterback. They're going to go, wait a minute. We've got a backup who's being problematic? This is not something we really are interested in. Now, I don't know. I'm not here to say that this is all true. I'm just saying these are what some of the reports are for indicating how Shedeur Sanders fell to 5. That he was not going to go round 1. And so when teams were talking to him, he carried this persona of, I'm a starting quarterback. And they're like, well, in our eyes, you're a backup. And you're not really behaving like a backup. Which, hey, they could be wrong. Shedeur could end up being a starting quarterback in the league. But that's at least some way to make sense of how did this go all the way to round 5. Rossini also added, the same exec added that he believes Sanders, who did not hire an agent, would have benefited from having one to provide a better level of insight into an understanding of the draft process. This is what I talked about on my Tuesday evening episode, that having Dion as your agent was not a very good idea because no one was honest with Shedeur about where he was going to go in the draft. I do not subscribe or believe to this idea that there was this giant witch hunt to just keep Shedeur out of round 1 by all 32 teams. If a GM loved him and thought he'd be his future franchise quarterback, he would have been taken in round 1 or round 2. But it's not common for quarterbacks to go in round 2 to begin with. This year, only Tyler Shuck went. Last year, Will Levis. And before that, I really want to say you got to go back to who? Jalen Hurts. And that was in 2020. So it's been a while. But the point being is it's not common for quarterbacks to go in round 2. So once he slipped out of round 1, well, it's almost, I wouldn't say expected to then fall to round 3, but more likely than not, just given the history of the NFL draft. But if Shedeur had a real agent, I think that real agent then could have told him, hey, talking to a couple people in the know, I've been doing this for a long time. This is my 25th draft. I'm hearing you're a round 3 guy. And that might catch Shedeur off guard. Might piss him off a little bit. You know what it's probably going to do? Have him perform at the Pro Bowl. Have him throw at the Senior Bowl. And have him go and throw at the Combine. Have him maybe take some of these interviews more like job interviews than visits. Because I think he went into this thinking, I'm a round 1 pick. And when he wasn't taken in round 1, clearly shocked, but also probably wanted to redo a couple of things he did in the pre-draft process. And with an agent, that might have been avoidable. Colin Cowherd also added that when speaking with an NFL exec, if Shedeur doesn't go in the first 6 to 8 picks of the top of the second round, then people probably view him as a backup. Nobody wants a celebrity backup quarterback. I agree with Cowherd a little bit on this. And this is not fair to Shedeur Sanders. And this is where Shedeur and Dion need to be separated. But if you're an NFL coach, you can either take, maybe in your eyes, a really good edge rusher, receiver, tackle, whatever it might be at like pick 45, at pick 50, okay? Or you can take Shedeur, and sure, if you hit on a quarterback, that's going to change the trajectory of your franchise. But if you, as a talent evaluator, don't view Shedeur as a very likely hit to be a starting quarterback in the league, and you think he is a backup with potential starting upside, well, that's not a bad thing to draft. There are lots of teams that take flyers on quarterbacks like that. You probably don't want that to then come with the overall, cloud of the star Shedeur Sanders, his entourage, and Deion Sanders. I'm not speaking from what I would do. I'm speaking from the lens of a coach and a GM, right? Those guys are football guys. They're no-nonsense guys. They're not there for the glitz, the glamour. They're there to win games. And they're probably not interested in having a backup who is going to have a big spotlight on them. And he's constantly having to answer questions about when is Shedeur going to play. They may feel that all of that baggage, fair to Shedeur or not, is not worth it for someone that they evaluated as a backup quarterback. If there was no baggage and they view him as a backup quarterback with potential upside, hey, in round 2, round 3, quarterback's so precious, it's probably worth the gamble. But is it precious enough to deal with the entourage if you don't view him as a starter to begin with? My suspicion is for all the teams that need a quarterback, which is not all 32, you might find very few GMs. And that's ultimately what happened. Also, this from Bruce Feldman, who spoke with an NFL assistant, that said, Shedeur's got a skill set, but no dominant trait. He's a backup at this point, and those guys have to be wired for humble support of the starter. This is an opportunity, and Shedeur's already taken this opportunity, I think kind of ran with it, to prove he can be a backup. He can hold a clipboard. He can be in last line because he's always been number 1, right? From high school to Jackson State to Colorado, he's always been the starter, and that's usually the case for all players that get to the NFL. But how well do they take moving from the front of the line to the back of the line when they're a rookie? Some take it better than others. And then some kind of have temper tantrums and ultimately fizzle out of the NFL. But this is an opportunity for Shedeur to prove to the NFL assistant, I can be a backup. I'm happy to be a backup and, just sit and learn for a year or two. Not a problem with me over here. I'm not going to be having a hissy fit. I'm not going to be leaking stuff because I'm upset that I'm not starting. And I think Shedeur has done a very good job of showing he's capable of that, right? He's capable of being humble. Within 3 days of being drafted by the Browns, he is going to a Cleveland public school, speaking to children there. It's awesome to see. So that was the best day for the entire school year for those kids. So this is an opportunity, like I said, for Sanders to prove some of those naysayers wrong that, hey, I'm not just some Hollywood star. Like, I'm ready for the bitch work, the brunt work of being a backup, carrying helmets, doing rookie karaoke. I'm excited for that opportunity. I'm excited to, be last in line to begin with, but then prove myself and work my way up the depth chart. I'm not going to waltz in here thinking if I'm not the first quarterback up, I'm not playing. And I feel like too many people have said that's going to happen. And I don't think that's fair to Shedeur. Got to give him the opportunity first to say that's not the case here. If in 3-6 months that ends up being true, then they can take their victory lap. But I'm not going to come out right now and say, yeah, Shedeur's going to be a prima donna before he even gets on the field. That seems a bit, ahead of my skis. So between Shedeur Sanders and Dillon Gabriel, the two drafted quarterbacks for Cleveland, which one's going to have a longer career for the Browns? Give me Shedeur or Dillon in the comment section below. My money would be on Gabriel, and I feel that that's because the coaching staff views Gabriel higher, and that's a result of being a third-round draft pick. So a bit of a chalky response. Well, I thought Shedeur was a better quarterback going into the pre-draft process. I'm not the one in charge. And I think Stefanski and Barry like Gabriel more. And it could take a little bit to move on from a day 2, day 1 drafted QB. They're going to get the benefit of the doubt. They're going to get a second and third chance. So I'll stick with Dillon Gabriel. The other draft story I wanted to talk about was how the Browns came to trading from number 2 to number 5 with the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Athletic put out a really insightful article about everything behind the scenes, so I want to share that with you all. But if you want to get your hands on a Browns rookie jersey like Mason Graham, who is now wearing 94, Quinshon Judkins, or Shedeur Sanders, go to chatsports.com/CLE rookies. I put that link in the comments and description of today's video. So if you want to support the channel while also getting yourself some more Browns gear, use this link down below. So the Browns pulled off some fireworks during round 1 of the NFL draft, trading back with the Jags, going from number 2 to number 5. And I want to share how this, originated and unfolded. Mike Silver wrote, the trade had been in place since April 7th, contingent upon quarterback Cam Ward going number 1, and was kept completely under wraps until draft day. So 2 thoughts from that. First thought is the fact the Browns wanted to wait to confirm the Titans were going to take Cam Ward tells me that the Browns weren't confident in the Titans to be absolute about Ward, which then signals that teams might not really view Ward as this slam dunk number 1 pick quarterback like most first overall selected quarterbacks are. So while everyone wanted Cam Ward, everyone that wanted a quarterback wanted Cam Ward, I was one of the few that said, hey, I don't think Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders or really this entire quarterback class is going to be all that great. I don't think Ward or Shedeur is going to get a second contract from their team. And I very well could be wrong, but that's just my gut opinion right now. The fact that the Browns were like, hey, we're going to wait and see, make sure you actually do this, signals maybe the Browns think they're not going to do it because Cam Ward might not be that surefire of a quarterback for being the number 1 pick. So may not end up being the end of the world that the Browns did not get Cam Ward in this draft. Instead, they move back and they get Mason Graham after passing on Travis Hunter. So let's talk about this because Andrew Berry, he got everyone excited for Hunter. We were all talking about whether or not he's going to play offense, defense. Oh, he's a receiver first. You're going to sprinkle him in at DB. And everyone was excited for the most electric player in college football last year, the Heisman winner, the unicorn, something we've never really seen in the NFL ranking, in the NFL world, to come to Cleveland. And then it all got swept out from beneath us. And I think what really snowballed it is everyone kind of got a case of blue balls after, getting ready for getting ready for Travis Hunter. And then you pivot from that to 5, and then everyone goes, okay, Ashton Genty. And then you go with Mason Graham, who's a very good player and a good pick. But it is hard to tell people, hey, instead of the unicorn and maybe the next Shohei Ohtani, what about a defensive tackle? Long term, that might be the best pick. But in the moment, that's not an easy sell. And then when you sprinkle in where that guy went to college, it's just the rotten cherry on top for a bad instant reaction. But give it a few days, and I think everyone has come around to the idea of, wait a minute. They can't double Miles and Mason. If Graham is going to push the pocket, meaning if Graham is going to force the quarterback to escape to the left or to the right and not climb up the pocket, Garrett's going to go from 16.5 sacks to 20 sacks. Because so many times Garrett gets around the edge, but lack of pressure from the interior allows the quarterback to step up and avoid 95. If he can't step up because Mason Graham is driving the center into the quarterback's lap, well, that means the quarterback either has to bail to the left or to the right. And if he's in a foot race with 95, he's losing that foot race 9 times out of 10. Yeah. So this is going to be a fun pick, I think, moving forward. But just instantly, it was a little bit of a tiny letdown here. Now, if you're still not on board with the trade, let's look at it one more time here, all right? And let me know if you'd still do this trade. I think a great way to answer this question is look at what the Browns got. Ignore the day 3 pick swaps for here. Let's look at the moneymakers. First for first, and then pick 36 and a future first to Cleveland. Ask yourself this question. Would you rather have Travis Hunter or Mason Graham and Quinshon Judkins? If you hesitate in your answer, then it's probably Mason Graham and Judkins. If you're unsure but leaning Travis Hunter, I didn't even mention a future first. Now, this trade's going to be contingent on Graham and Judkins playing well and Hunter not looking like the greatest players at the end of the draft the last couple of years and go both ways. But if you're like, I'm on the fence about it, I don't think you're on the fence about it. Because I haven't even mentioned next year's first they're getting from Jacksonville. We're just looking at the 2-for-1 difference right now of Graham and Judkins versus Travis Hunter. Once that third player enters the fray, and it's a first next year, Judkins and Graham versus Travis Hunter, I think everyone's going to come to the Browns side of things. So, while I understand why Jacksonville might feel the need to do this trade because they have just been an irrelevant franchise and a new young GM. By the way, these are 2 very young GMs pulling off this trade, Andrew Berry and Gladstone, the new Jags GM, whatever his name is. So let's wrap up today's episode by picking a card. Reed, which card do you want to go with?
Give me 8 of clubs.
I'm going to go with the 9 of diamonds. 7 of hearts. 7 of hearts. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We'll see everyone next time. Okay. So, revisiting this trade, would you still do it? Knowing what you know now, I would. Travis Hunter would have been a lot of fun. But Graham, Judkins, and next year's first.
We don't know if he can do it yet.
Like, Graham and Judkins by themselves makes it, like, somewhat, 50-50. But that's where things get lopsided. Because it should have just been everything minus the first. But the fact that you got that future first, because it's 50-50 right now, when you drop the first-round pick from next year into the mix here to complete the trade, I think it's going to swing all the way over to Cleveland.
I mean, people, like, I think what hurt, I mean, you did this as well. You were like, in the moment, Genty. You're like, oh, my God, we missed out on Genty. But then you remember, wait, there's still some really good running backs in this class.
Yep.
And then you look at Mason Graham, and you're like, wait, this guy's really good.
Yeah. We always knew Graham would be good. Going 5th overall usually carries a big connotation and, big shoes to fill. And listen, this was kind of a weak-ish draft class, and that's going to be something I think we all really learn to fully accept when we look back at this in a few years. But if you can get your own Geno Atkins or Cam Hayward to go with Miles, I think walking away from pick number 5 in a weak draft class will be a pretty good, result.
A good. I forget who said it during our draft live. Mm-hmm. Is this the plan that the Browns told Garrett to keep him in?
Yeah, that's the biggest question that I've had people ask me, and I don't know the answer. I have no idea. I don't know.
Or was it just the money?
We have a super chat coming in, or two. We'll throw those on screen. Blah, blah, blah. That's all you hear. You listen a lot, dude. Yeah. Next one. And next, we're going to talk about free agent targets for Cleveland. He's him.
Wait. Is that I saw you at that party.
Yeah. All right. Free agency. I want to talk about some of the targets remaining that Cleveland could have their eye on. Andrew Berry loves to complete his roster. He does not spare a dime. He traded for Shedeur Smith after the NFL draft with the Minnesota Vikings. I'd say at this point we would be naive not to borderline assume he's going to make a signing, which he's already done, added Deontay Johnson. So I want to look at some more names that could, pique his interest. Sure, I've never listened to them, but yeah. All right, here we go. 94 likes. Can we get 6 more people to like the stream and get to 100 likes on today's episode? Yeah, Mason Graham wearing 94, so do it for the first round pick. Okay. Coming up, let me start all over again. On today's episode, I want to look at some free agent targets for the Browns now that the NFL draft is over, and we know that Andrew Berry likes to continue adding to his roster when he traded for Shedeur Smith after the draft as a proven example of that. So the Browns made 7 total picks, and they filled a lot of the holes on their roster, but I don't think they completely, addressed all the issues on this roster. So I want to look at some free agents out there that could pique Andrew Berry's interest. Now, it is worth reminding you guys that the Browns have already gotten started in free agency, signing wide receiver Deontay Johnson. So for everyone that wanted the Browns to draft a receiver, one, you can't say draft best player available and then be mad they don't take a receiver when it's not a great receiver draft class. 2, there were a lot of good veteran receivers on the open market. Now, I don't like the Deontay Johnson sign it because they're just going with pure talent over locker room camaraderie and fit, and there's got to be some kind of balance, but this, to me, is not a good enough balance. So let's look at the first free agent that the Browns could have interest in, and that is their very own Nick Chubb. I've got to start with Chubb here. I don't think the Browns would sign Chubb to have a big role on the offense. I think it would be because they want him to finish his career in Cleveland, and they are willing to give him a contract and give him a roster spot, even if internally they feel like his best days are way behind him. We've gotten some rumors over the last couple of days that he could be going to an NFC North team. We're filming this on Wednesday, April 30th, so maybe by the time you're watching this, that's already happened. But I sure would love to see Chubb finish his career in Cleveland. He has said he wants to finish his career in Cleveland. He's a workout machine. He's a workout warrior, posting a bunch of awesome videos, jumping like a kangaroo, letting everyone know he can still play in the National Football League. But actions speak louder than words, and when you draft 2 running backs, I just don't see a role for Chubb on this offense anymore. So I would love for him to come back from an emotional standpoint, from a locker room standpoint, from a logistical standpoint. If Chubb did not play for the Browns, would it make much sense? No, I don't think we'd be talking about him at all if he played for any other team. But maybe because he is one of the best players in that locker room and the heart and soul of this team since 2018 with Miles, that could be reason enough for Andrew Berry to give him a roster spot. But I also wonder, would Chubb want to come back if it's like a petty signing? We're like, hey, we want to have you back. we don't really have a big role for you in mind. We drafted 2 running backs. We're going to let those guys kind of take over. Chubb might go, listen, if I'm just going to be a backup on this team, there are other teams out there where I can have a much larger role offensively. I'm going to go there instead. If you want Chubb to come back, though, like today's video. So after Chubb, I want to look at 2 other players who are also former Brownies, and that is wide receiver Elijah Moore and Amari Cooper. Now, like we mentioned at the top of the video, adding Deontay Johnson, I think, really filled the void at receiver. But the Browns did put some unusual restricted free agent type tag on Elijah Moore. I'm still not really sure what it all means. But anywho, so there could be interest in the Browns going, hey, we wanted Moore and maybe Cooper to come back. And both guys played very well with Joe Flacco. And we want to recreate and recapture that magic. We just didn't think that we'd, have the means and the financial space to do it back in March. But here we are in May, and you guys are still available. So if your price has gone down, we'd love to have you back. It was always just a bit of a money thing for us and allocating resources to proper spots. Plus, it helps that we just went through the draft. We did not draft anyone, so it's not like there's a rookie that we are going to have, their growth stunted due to a couple of veterans coming in at the last moment. No, sure, you added Deontay Johnson, but you don't have much stock in Deontay Johnson, right? This is not something you want to see or you're invested in long term like you are with a rookie who's got a 4-year contract. No, he's on a 1-year deal. So you could bring in Johnson and then either Moore or Amari Cooper and let them compete in training camp. Whichever receiver has the best camp, they win the job, they get a roster spot, and the other guy gets cut. And you don't think twice about it because you're not looking at it as like we're giving up on someone we thought could be here long term. No, he wasn't going to be here past 2025 according to his contract. And the Browns wide receiver room, it's a little underwhelming after Jerry Jeudy. So with the way Moore and Cooper both played, especially Amari, with Joe Flacco, I wouldn't be opposed to a re-signing. Now between you, me, and everyone else watching, I think Amari Cooper's going to go back to the Cowboys. I think Elijah Moore is going to go to maybe the Kansas City Chiefs. Let's check out the 4th free agent that could have Cleveland's interest. It is cornerback Asante Samuel Jr. You got Deion's son. Why not get Asante Samuel's son? But the reason why I'm bringing him into the fold is because the Browns, I think, have a little bit of a need at nickel potentially. So, some background on the former 2nd-round pick. Last year, he suffered a shoulder injury, only played in 4 games. That was really the first time he missed substantial time in his NFL career. The Chargers had a bunch of zone defense here, so that was something that the LA defense really looked into. And while the Browns with Jim Schwartz hopped around a little bit from man to zone, there could be an avenue for Asante Samuel to be a good fit with the way Jim Schwartz likes to run his defense. But the reason why I'm bringing up Samuel is because there were some trade rumors that came out before the NFL draft about Greg Newsome. And Samuel does play that inside nickel spot and started every single game from 2022 to 2023, 3 straight years to open up his career with 2 interceptions. I like the idea, if you plan to move on from Greg Newsome, to bring Samuel into the mix here. Plus, Andrew Berry loves loading up at DB. Now, he did sign a corner before the draft, Nick Needham, but if they end up flipping Newsome for a draft pick, and they're still looking for, more quality starting experience at nickel, Asante Samuel could be a great option for Cleveland. So, not a bad avenue to explore, but it's very much contingent on the Browns trading Greg Newsome. Because as of now, I don't see much of a role for him. But then again, the Browns have made a bunch of surprising signings. How many of you thought they'd sign Tevin Jenkins, a former 2nd-round pick by the Bears, when they have Bitonio and Teller starting at guard and Zach Zinter, a 3rd-round pick last year? I don't think a single person tossed out the idea of Cleveland adding a guard. Or when they traded for Kenny Pickett. Was that a name people had on their radar? No. So the Browns like to do this. They like to keep us on their toes. This would be a didn't see it kind of coming signing, but a very talented player, an early draft pick that for one reason or another is being overlooked is exactly the profile of a player that Andrew Berry pursues. Before we look at the 5th free agent, I do want to tell you guys that there is an awesome deal going on at Fanatics to get the Browns rookie jerseys. When you go to chatsports.com/CLE rookies, get a Shedeur Sanders jersey, a Mason Graham jersey, a Quinshon Judkins jersey. Use this link. It's a great way to support the channel. So really appreciate those of you that already do that. But if you're thinking of getting a new jersey, I just ask you use this link. It's in the comments and description of today's video. 5th and final free agent target I'll toss out is Justin Simmons. I mean, multiple Pro Bowls, all-pro safety, a takeaway machine for the Denver Broncos since getting drafted in 2016. Last year with the Atlanta Falcons, not as good as he was prior years in Denver. But I want to show you guys the safety room because to me, this is a spot where I could see Andrew Berry going, hey, we can upgrade. We like Ronnie Hickman, but we feel like Justin Simmons could be better. And so I would not once again rule out the possibility of Berry going, wait a minute, you're telling me we can improve this roster and the only thing standing in our way is a $5 to $7 million contract? Sure, why not? Like the why not might be, well, don't you want to see Ronnie Hickman develop and maybe be a long-term starter for you versus taking a one-year flyer on a veteran? But after the way the Browns played last year, Berry may not have patience for that. After a 3-win season, he might go, listen, I'm not going to sit around to see if these guys break out or not when I know I can get better players in the open market. And if those better players see their price drop a little bit, would not rule out Berry swooping in and collecting some vets. He's done it before. He likes to go for more like quantity over quality. Not one big $80 million signing, but a lot of kind of little signings. And if these veterans' contracts get small enough to where they are little signings, they kind of scream the profile that Berry pursues. So who do you think the Browns should sign? Looking through those 5 players, is it one of them? Is it someone else? Let me know in the comment section below. For me, the number one guy from an emotional standpoint I'd like to see the Browns sign is Nick Chubb. And I think Chubb's going to be a good running back next year. If we're talking about, hey, what's going to make the Browns roster better? I kind of want to dabble with Amari Cooper, right? See if you can get back to what he did with Joe Flacco 2 years ago. And just pretend like last year never happened, and you get Cooper and Dylan Gabriel, your 3rd-round pick out of it. All right, let's pick a card now. Reed, which card are you going with?
Give me 3 of hearts.
Okay.
But not 3 of hearts. 4 of hearts.
Okay, I'm going to go 3 of hearts. 3 of hearts. Give it to me. You're not going to believe this. Back-to-back 7 of hearts.
Oh my God.
Back-to-back 7 of hearts. Wow. Thank you guys for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see everyone next time. Who do you want the Browns to sign? Ant Dog says Asante Samuel. If it was rigged, I would have said 7 of hearts. Kathy says Chubb. Kimberly says Chubb. MG, Amari doesn't want to be here. Maybe not. I think right now he wants to be anywhere. So if he doesn't have anyone calling, he could be open to a reunion. I wish I was like Vegas. Jonathan Rupert, best bet is... I agree, Jonathan. If you pick the same card, I swear you'd have way more success than hopping around. But I just keep hopping around. Mac, he's him. If you really want to piss Matt off, you should increase the super chat. He really Mac is completely right. There is nothing that makes me punch the air more than when someone sends in a $50 or $100 super chat. But I'm glad that he's him has not learned this. Otherwise, my face would be beet red. My Chat Sports jersey quality was bad. Don't buy. You didn't get one. Because you won't give me your address. He did at one point, and then he said he got a new address. And I asked for the new one, and he never responded. So, I think I'm just going to set an expiration date on all this. He's him. You've got until the end of May. I'm not going to come back from my honeymoon and be dealing with your bullshit. So if you want the giveaways, just send me an address and a name too, and a size. It's not very difficult. Every other winner has, in the history of giveaways, has managed to accomplish this. Yes. If Christopher Stofira is here, he's gotten it. I'm looking at, has anyone in the chat gotten a jersey? Or like won a jersey or something? I'm looking around. Okay. Mailbag coming up next. Hashtag Browns or Super Chat. If you Super Chat, you skip the line and we throw your question on screen, guaranteed for everyone to see. So if you would like to get your take, your idea thrown on screen, hashtag Browns in the chat, and Reed may or may not pick your question, or Super Chat, and that way it's guaranteed to go on screen. Josh won the dog bone poster.
By the way,
was that the first or the second one, Josh? I don't remember.
Speaking of Josh, I saw you super chatted 2 questions. I'll do one in the beginning and one at the end.
Yeah.
Because I want to get, some other people some chances.
Mac, what did you win? I'll tell you who the luckiest person is. I'm blanking on her name right now. She only tunes in for watch parties. And she's won 2 jerseys by just getting free entries from liking the stream. And she's only had 1 duck in the race both times, and she's won twice. I think they're 2 separate years. The person that got tickets, I don't remember the name of the guy that got tickets. But he sent me pictures from the game. That was pretty cool. Brownie Nation, good question, Brownie Nation. Throw hashtag Browns into that question, and our software can pull it and throw it on screen. All right, 200 people tuned in. Here we go. Let's get into it. We ready? Brownie, throw hashtag Browns in there. I want a question from Jay. Hey, Christopher, you're here. Good. You got your Myles Garrett jersey. If Dibble was here, he would be vouching. He's gotten 2 jerseys, I think, actually. He's been a lucky little duck. Okay. Gregory, dude has a lot of sand. He needs to rinse out. Is that an expression? I never heard of that one before. Brownie, get your question with the hashtag Browns. Here we go. Mailbag time here on the Cleveland Browns Report. I'm answering questions that came in during our live show, which airs on Wednesday afternoons. So let's get into our first question, which comes in via Super Chat from, or maybe not, from Joshua Miller. And Josh asking, I think the question we all want to know, is our franchise quarterback currently on the roster? No. And right now, people are just hate commenting me in the comment section for doubting Shedeur Sanders. But I want to be wrong, but I just can't, be dishonest with you guys and say every single quarterback is going to be great. Joe Flacco is not going to be this team's starting quarterback in 3 years. Neither will Kenny Pickett. So that leaves you with 2 rookies. Dylan Gabriel, who I was not high on coming into the draft and viewed as a major reach in round 3. I don't think so. And Shedeur Sanders, who I think was a better prospect than Gabriel, but still a prospect I never viewed as a long-term starting quarterback. No. I think the Browns' starting quarterback will come out of next year's draft or the following year's draft. I don't believe it's on this year's roster. Sorry. Cool guy. I can imagine Quinshawn and Sampson rocking 1 and 2. That would be awesome. So we can say 1, 2. I hope they watch this. I don't know if they've made their number decision yet, but if they haven't, this is an amazing idea by Cool Guy. Judkins can wear 1. He was the first pick. Sampson can wear 2. That'd be an electric duo. Cool Guy for president. That's an awesome idea. Jeep Wolf. So with this full quarterback room, what's expected for the drama, hype, or whatever else? Are we talking about within the quarterback room? Here's what I'm going to speculate / predict happens. I think during OTAs and minicamp, I think Kenny Pickett is going to surprise people by getting a lot of looks. I think they're going to look at Joe Flacco as, hey, we know what we have in you. We're not really bringing you here to get you developed. Whereas Pickett, I think, is actually the quarterback that they think might be their next Geno Smith, Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold type of bounce back quarterback. So I think Pickett's going to get a lot of looks in OTAs, minicamp, and in training camp. And then I think Gabriel and Shedeur just switch off, alternate, right? we got 4 quarterbacks who typically run a first-team offense, second-team offense, and a third-team offense in training camp. I think they alternate third-team offenses. And then maybe one guy has a good week and he hops into the second-team offense. I think Joe Flacco probably runs from the first team to the second team and then kind of sits out a little bit because he's 40 years old. He's not really there to get better as a passer. They know what they have in him, and for better or for worse, that's Joe Flacco. Luka, tell me it wouldn't be the most Andrew Berry thing ever to trade for Jalen Ramsey. Andrew Berry does like to keep us on our toes with trades, and he is always open to improving the roster, which sounds like kind of Captain Obvious, right? Every GM should do that, but not every GM does, because a lot of GMs are a little bit timid to move on from draft capital or don't have the support from ownership to pull off higher level acquisitions that cost more money for the player's contract. But I would not rule out Andrew Berry going, wait a minute, a good player's available? Why aren't we doing our homework on him? And maybe the homework comes back with, nope, we don't need him, there's not a spot for him. But what if the homework comes back with, hey, we think Ramsey could be a really good safety, and we'd love a secondary of Jalen Ramsey and Grant Delpit, and then Denzel Ward and Martin Emerson on the outside and Greg Newsome on the inside. I don't think that's something I'd bet on happening, but I'm definitely not going to bet against Andrew Berry when it comes to the possibility of making a high-level trade. So, would you trade for the Dolphins star cornerback who is on the trading block and the Dolphins GM has expressed an interest in moving him? Is this something you'd be on board with? Give me a yes or give me a no. If it cost you a future 5th-round draft pick, I kind of want to say sure, why not? I know it kind of feels like there's no room for Ramsey, but Emerson and Newsome sucked last year. Delpit had a down year. Ronnie Hickman's still relatively unproven. I mean, he's played a couple and started a few games here and there. But the only guy in that secondary I actually have faith in playing good football all year is Denzel Ward. And I don't have faith in Denzel Ward playing all year. So you start to add up all those reasons, and while it might have sounded a little bit preposterous at first, starts to make a little bit more sense by the end. Kathy, Deion Sanders will be the next head coach within 2 years if Shedeur stays. Maybe that's a reason why some teams passed on Sanders, because the court, when they asked all right, back up. I think when it comes to drafting a quarterback, the coach has a lot of say in it. They want to know, hey, based on what you want to do offensively, which player is going to fit that well? Because I want to construct a team as a GM that's going to fit what we're trying to do on offense and defense. And I wonder if a lot of coaches went, yeah, Shedeur doesn't fit what I want to do on offense because of this exact reason here, of tiny little bit of fear that there could be some external pressure to dump the coach and bring Deion in. And maybe the coach just did not want to deal with a lot of attention on the backup quarterback. So I don't think Kevin Stefanski is that insecure. And I think Deion signing a big extension with Colorado indicates he is not betting on this to happen. But if that opportunity popped up, he would pounce on it. I think if that ever were to happen, though, it would be in Dallas. Braden, who do you think is going to have a breakout season on the Browns? I'll put my bets in for Denzel Ward. All right. Well, I think we have different definitions of breakout. Like, Denzel Ward is broken out. He's a Pro Bowl cornerback. We know he's great. Actual, hey, someone that hasn't really, lived up to their full potential yet, but is going to this year, I will toss out. I'm going to go with Cedric Tillman. He was playing very well last year up until his head injury. Hopefully that's behind him, and he's got a clean bill of health going into this year, and he can pick up where he left off before that concussion. Flight of the Zombie. Chance of Isaiah Bond from Texas as UDFA, or are teams waiting to see what happens with this case? Probably the latter. They're probably just not looking to be in the headlines for a UDFA. The juice ain't worth the squeeze here, right? The juice might be worth the squeeze if that guy is like Laramie Tunsil and he's very good and expected to go round 1. But for someone that went undrafted, they might just decide, we'll let someone take on a little bit of that, media circus for signing someone who's awaiting trial, or I think the Chargers might have been. I'm not really sure what's going on with Isaiah Bound's trial, but probably waiting to see what happens. Brownie Nation, will there be any trades before next year? I feel like odds are yes. After the draft 2 years ago, Barry traded for Shedeur Smith. Last year, I don't remember him making a trade. Someone can correct me if I'm forgetting one. But I would say chances are in the preseason, some type of trade will be made. Roy from good old Germany. What about trading? Roy from good old Germany saying SS is giving people, a little bit of heebie-jeebies. Trading Shedeur Sanders to the Steelers when they do not get Rodgers. No. I'm not trading a quarterback to the Pittsburgh Steelers that could help Pittsburgh beat the Browns twice a year. Even if I think Shedeur is not going to be all that great of a quarterback, I'm not going to run that risk. Best case scenario, you get a 5th rounder from Pittsburgh. Worst case scenario, you got to deal with that for the next decade plus. No, not taking a chance on that. Okay, before we look at the rest of the questions, make sure you check out our friends over at Fanatics who've got awesome jersey sales right now. A Quinshon Judkins jersey, a Mason Graham jersey, a Shedeur Sanders jersey. Go to chatsports.com/CLE rookies. I put that link in the comments and description of today's video. So if you want to get your hands on a new Browns jersey while supporting the channel in the process, use this link. Miami Mac, your next one up. Do you think we will see Cedric Tillman have a breakout year as our wide receiver too? Coming out of Tennessee, remember at the time the big name was Jalen Hyatt. He was the Blitnikoff Award winner. Tillman played through an ankle injury, missed some time as a result of that injury, and he fell off the radar a little bit. I think that Cedric Tillman showed last year he has a lot of potential, and if he can stay healthy and just play 15, 16, 17 games, we're looking at someone who I think in year 2 can put up 850 yards and 5 touchdowns. Or in year 3, I should say. 850 and 5 touchdowns in year 3. If I told you that right now, are you taking deal or no deal on that? I'm taking deal. I'm going to look at that as a very positive step forward in his 3rd season. Joshua Miller. Would we have taken a second running back if we picked Genty? I would say no. Genty is just well too rounded of a back to then take someone who's going to take touches away from him after using a great asset on him. You can't use a top 10 pick on a running back and then the next day go, all right, who can we get that can take the ball out of Genty's hands? You took Genty top 5, top 10 because you wanted the ball in his hands. So then use your other asset on someone who can complement your team in other ways. I would say no, Josh. Thank you so much for your super chat, though. Really appreciate it. We've got another super chat coming in here. Oh, you're kidding me. Okay. No, that's all right. We have another question, though. Let's get a question, and then we'll address that afterwards. Christopher Sofira. Supplemental draft is still possible for players. No one's been drafted from the supplemental draft in years. If you don't know, this is where Bernie came from. It's players who, for one odd reason or another, can't be drafted but can't go back to college. And what happens is they enter the supplemental draft, and if a team drafts them, whatever pick they used on them, they lose that pick in the next draft. I want to say the last player taken in the supplemental draft was Terrell Pryor. Someone fact check me, please. I thought there was a guy like 2 years ago who entered the draft and was going to be the first player in the supplemental draft for 6, 7, 8 years, but no team took him. So I think the last guy was Terrell Pryor. I have no idea who could qualify for the supplemental draft. It would kind of be like if Isaiah Bond was not able to get into the draft, but also couldn't go back to Texas. That's how he could get into the supplemental draft. Dolphin X, Bills just signed Elijah Moore. We need someone at wide receiver 3. I wonder if Andrew Berry thinks Deontay Johnson is that someone at wide receiver 3. I don't like making that bet because I don't like Deontay Johnson's antics, the way he's bounced around from team to team. Not once, but twice last year. He was on a playoff team and managed to work himself off that roster. That does not seem like someone I want in my locker room. So unless he's had an attitude change, I'm not interested in Johnson. I don't have high hopes or high beliefs for him. I'm going to be a doubter and a naysayer here. Would love to be wrong, but no, I don't think that's going to be the case. All right, let's pick a card to wrap up the show. Okay. Are we ready to rumble?
Let's see. King of clubs.
Okay, I'm going to go with the... sorry. Not going to pick that card. I'm going to go with the Jack of clubs. Ace of diamonds. Ace of diamonds. No one in the chat got it right. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I'll see everyone next time. Okay. We'll take care of that second segment afterwards. We're at $88 in Super Chat. So if someone wants to send in $15 to get us to $100, that'd be a great way to top off today's show. But nevertheless, thank you all so much for tuning in to another live show here. It's obviously one of my favorite days of the week because I get to hang out with you all. So really appreciate the support and everyone that sent in a Super Chat. Dolphin X, you broke the news to me, Dolphin X. Dolphin X was my Adam Schefter, letting me know Elijah Moore going to the Buffalo Bills. I believe with that signing, the Browns might be able to get some comp pick value. They made him like a restricted. I don't know what they did exactly. It was very rare what they did. KJ Jones with a $5 Super Chat. So dumb people think Miles was told early QB draft plan. He was told he won't be traded, take money, or make situation ugly. How is this complicated? I don't disagree with that, but then why even mention the quarterback plan? Because now you kind of put your foot in your mouth if the quarterback plan's a bad one, and people go, Miles, you thought Joe Flacco and Pickett would be a good quarterback plan? You don't know shit, right? You're kind of signing a check that you can't cash, where you go, without knowing the quarterback plan, I'm super excited for it. Just don't say that at all. You don't have to say anything about that. 1-year deal worth up to $5 million in incentives. I wonder if Brandon Beane, the Bills GM, was tired of local sports talk radio getting mad about receivers. So he's like, you know what? Screw it. I will sign a receiver, but it's because I want to, not because you guys complained about this on radio. Okay, Tim. No, Elijah Moore was not traded. He signed with the Buffalo Bills. So Elijah Moore will not return to Cleveland, signing with the Buffalo Bills. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday evenings, and I'll see everyone tomorrow.